20 plus years for this. Why not? I'm currently at D-Day +3, and as some of you know who've been through it, I'm in hell. I wish I didn't have to find this site, but I am glad it's here as I don't have any good friends I can talk to, and I'm not sure I want to discuss it with my dad or brother. I accidentally discovered evidence of my wife's affair that took place 9 years ago. This was a total shock as I never suspected anything, at least in this instance, and I feel like a total idiot. This is just so devastating. Ironically, my mom died about 3 months after the dates of the affairs based on the evidence I have, and the pain of this revelation is more intense. My mom was sick and went into hospice a week before she passed, so I had time to process it and grieve with family. This is totally different because I feel so alone. A little backstory on our marriage. We both turned 40 last year. We met in high school and started hanging out and dating shortly after. We took it slow. She was my first real girlfriend, so you know how that can be. We didn't have our first kiss until a few months into going out. It's kind of pathetic, but we both agreed that it was nice to take things slow and get to know each other. I only know a bit about her past relationships, but I never pried because I am a jealous type and just don't want to know. She did accidentally let it slip that she wasn't a virgin, and from what she said, it wasn't a good experience involving a much older man that she knew. She was 14, he was 26. She didn't describe it as rape, but when I pointed out to her that she asked him to stop and he didn't, she agreed. Anyway, we've been together pretty much since we were both 16. Our relationship has had its ups and downs like any other, but I really feel we are best friends. Our bonding life, however, hasn't been the best. It's very irregular, and there are months and at one point years have gone by without any regular bonding. Now, she's been pretty good about satisfying me with X almost whenever I initiate it, but bonding has been a hang-up usually. She doesn't like X on her either, she says, because the first guy did that to her and it makes her feel weird. When we do have bonding, she does seem to enjoy it, but she is very reserved. Whenever I've tried to talk frankly about bonding, she gets very shy and embarrassed. So, I try not to push her. I always figured she was like this because of her first experience, and she said she doesn't like to be touched and has always felt that was since a child. She's mentioned being weirded out by doctors, and even her immediate family. I suspect there may have been some molestation at some point, but I have never asked her point blank. I'm not a therapist and wouldn't know how to have that discussion. Like I said, we were happy together for the most part. We considered ourselves married even though it wasn't official for many years. She always said I was going to get rid of her because she was broken, but I assured her that I loved her no matter what, and while bonding is important to me, I always told myself we could work it out. When we do sleep together, it's fantastic. Anyway, after being together 15 years, we decided to get married officially when we found out about my mom so she could experience it before she passed. She was always asking when we were going to get married. My wife was very happy with planning the wedding, and on the day it was perfect. Only I didn't know at the time what she was up to during this time frame. I never seriously thought she would cheat on me because of her apparent physical dysfunction, even though she is a very beautiful woman and guys hit on her all the time. I have low self-esteem and always felt she was out of my league, but she really does seem to love me. D-Day. Here's how I found out some of what was going on. The other day I was looking through an old drawer trying to find my old PlayStation so I could sell it on eBay. In the drawer I found an old phone memory card, and I got a kick out of it because it was such a small capacity compared to what we have these days. It wasn't worth anything, but just for crap and giggles I popped it into my computer to see if anything was on it. It looked blank, except for one folder that looked like it was for a text backup. What I found in there was a text message transcript for a day in April 2009. My wife at the time worked as a retail store manager for a big cell phone company. I recognized some of her employees' names, and they were talking about work stuff, and I didn't think anything of it. But as I scrolled down, I was shocked to find some pretty dirty texting. I didn't realize at first this guy was talking to my wife, because one side had his name, and the responses just were labeled as me. As I was starting to get ill, I tried telling myself that it wasn't my wife's transcript, but when I scrolled back to the top, it clearly said it was her phone number. When it hit me, I have never felt so sick in my life, just devastated. I still haven't had the guts to go back and read the full conversation, just the bits and pieces I saw. I don't know how to describe the feeling. But it gets worse. I thought it was weird that the card was empty except for that folder. I'm thinking when my wife erased it, she didn't realize the text transcript would remain. While I was physically shaking and between trips to the bathroom, I Googled free data recovery software and scanned the card. I found about 40 photos, graphic photos. While you can't see her face, I clearly recognize what I do see, and of course the location is our bathroom. I've never seen these pictures. They clearly weren't taken to possibly send to me. One of the pictures is of her masturbating, and that is something I've asked her to let me see and be involved with when we're together, but she claims she never does it and gets very embarrassed, so I never pushed it. I'm in full freak-out mode. When I discovered this, she was at work, a different job, not the same as back then, and wouldn't be home for a few hours. I went through the house and scanned every memory card and old phone I could find looking for more evidence. I found an old flip phone that I didn't think would have anything because it was outdated by the point the affair took place, but I looked anyway. Opened the text messages, and the first one is from the other man. Oh no. So now I have proof this was more than a one-time thing. What sickens me even more about this second piece of evidence is the fact that she was texting him with this phone while we were out at a concert together. I remember, she put her SIM card in this old phone so her bigger smartphone wouldn't get lost or damaged at the concert. We originally bonded in high school over our love of heavy metal music. Unfortunately, I had no way to back up the contents of the text on this phone, so I had to take a picture of each screen. That meant I had to read the whole conversation that was going on while we were on a date night. It also 99% confirmed to me that this was also a PA based on what was said. Stuff was discussed that she would never do or even try once with me. Also, at one point that night he asked her to show me your tits, and she said she was driving. But about 20 minutes later after we got to the venue she must have gone to the bathroom because she did in fact send him a topless photo. This time with the face showing, so I guess at this point she trusted him enough not to post the pictures somewhere online. All of this happened 3 to 4 months before our wedding after being committed and living together for 15 years. I had no idea, not to be crass, but it was around this time she actually got better at X and started using her hands more. I thought it was great and I clearly remember joking with her saying, "Wow, who have you been practicing with?" LOL Jesus Christ. Now I know. Stupid me, I just thought she was watching porn and was too embarrassed to tell me. Another crappy thing is this guy is nothing like me. Guys she always finds attractive are types like me, long hair rocker, biker guys. This guy is a bald Latino who is into sports and hip-hop. Just icing on the cake. We don't have a group of friends, we are always together. A few times she's had guy friends from other jobs and has gone out with them in a group setting without me. Of course, I would sort of suspect, but I would never think she would do anything based on what I thought I knew of her. Plus, she was never snaky about that when she would go out, and even invited me a few times. Now I don't know what to think. I feel like I'm an open-minded guy and free physically. I'm up to try anything once. If she came to me and said she had desires and wanted to try something new, like bring a guy home, I think I would have been up for it, just for her sake. But the fact that she did this behind my back and talked about doing things she knew I wanted to do but she refused, just makes me so sick and betrayed. I've tried to send her dirty text messages in the past, but she said it's silly and not a turn on. I guess I'm the sucker. I'm sorry this is so long, and I'm sure I'm forgetting stuff. I just don't know who to talk to and don't know what to do. I can't stop thinking about it. I try to stay busy but it will just randomly pop into my head. I can't escape it. I don't know how to confront her. The night of D-Day, I instigated bonding, and she got upset. We talked about some things, and before we went to sleep, we did sleep together and it ended pretty quick because it's been a while for me. The next day nothing because I told her I was feeling sick, because I was. She just doesn't know why. But last night we had a long frank talk about our physical life and our current relationship. It seems like she does want things to get better in that way. We had loving bonding afterwards, and things seemed to go well. So, I'm just totally lost. I don't want to lose her. She says she doesn't want to lose me. I just think I need to know everything. Not just the guy I know about, but if there were more. If it was just the one guy, I need to know how it started, and when it ended. Right now, I only have a snapshot of 2 days about 2 weeks apart back in 9. She's addicted to her phone, so I haven't had much chance to take a good look at her current one. I did glance quickly the other day, and while I did see a text from the other man, it was from 8 months ago and he asked, "Hi, how are you?" She didn't reply, unless she deleted it, but if that's the case she would have deleted the whole conversation. So perhaps this is way behind her. But of course, for me this just happened. I only met the guy once or twice at her work, and I don't really know him. I think he has a long-term girlfriend or wife, and I'd really like to find out if they were together at the time and see if she knows anything. But I'm not sure how to find out without tipping my hand. His Facebook profile is mostly private, so I can't see much. I do know my wife and him are still friends on Facebook. I tried to open Facebook Messenger on her phone, but she doesn't have it installed. The other man is Facebook friends with some of my old coworkers. My wife and I worked at the same company for a while. Then I went to a competitor, so we all know a lot of the same people. Should I talk to one of my old coworkers and see if they know if the other man has a wife and what her name is? I just don't know what the right course of action is. Again, sorry for the wall of text. I just had to vent to somebody. I really hope this feeling in my gut diminishes as time goes on, and I can keep the thoughts that pop in my head to a minimum. My comment: it would be extremely naive to think she is not cheating right now. You just don't know. Flip a coin. What you do know is that your wife can lie very easily to you and you wouldn't know a thing. It is obvious how much you respect your wife, how much compassion you have for her, and your love. As far as your wife wanting much different physical things from her affair partner than from you, that is not unheard of by any means. That truly has nothing to do with you, and my inexpert opinion is that it might have to do with her past physical traumas growing up. If she does have that in her past, I think she should get therapy. As far as her cheating, I think the biggest red flag I could observe is that the cheaters guard their phones with their lives, never put them down, some even sleep with them under their pillows. Why does she need her phone on her constantly? That is a huge red flag in my opinion, unless she has a very specific reason, like one of her parents is gravely ill, or something like that. What is she doing on the phone? Who is she communicating with? If I were you, and I am no expert, I would want to know what is going on now before confronting her. I would try to get her phone alone and go see what is on there. I might try that for a week, tops. Then, I would just take her phone when she puts it down for a second and then, at that point, tell her what I have found. Which I would expect her to just lie about it, say she never had slept with him, it was just a few pictures, blah, blah, blah. Then when you tell her, well, you found this or that, she will cop to this or that, only as much as you already found out on your own, or whatever else she will figure that you must already know. OP responds, just to clarify, at the time this happened we weren't technically married. This all happened about 3 months before the actual wedding. But we had been living together for 15 years at that point and considered ourselves married for all intents and purposes. So, here's an update after I've been able to do some more digging. When she left for work today, I was able to log into her Gmail and Yahoo Mail account on our PC. I spent a few hours going through them both. The Yahoo one is her junk account and I didn't find anything there, and it goes back to 2004, which is odd because if she was really sneaking around a lot, I'd expect her to use this account. The Gmail is her main account, and it goes back to 2007. I was able to find a total of 6 text message transcripts that were saved from her phone at the time, including the one I already found on the old memory card. I haven't read every inch of them yet, but I think I am able to see the start of everything. It looks like it started out with him throwing in inappropriate comments during their normal work communication and she slowly and playfully responded. And things just ratcheted up from there. She was his boss at the time, so when this was going on, I didn't think it was weird that she was texting with her employees so much. It was part of the job. She had around 5 to 6 guys and gals working in the store she was in charge of. The text transcripts start on 2009, and the last one is 2009. Like I said, I haven't read them all in detail yet, but I will before be confronting to find some smoking gun comments confirming this was a pa. I did find 2 other later emails from him. One was a year later in 2010 and it was a Google Maps location meetup request suggesting he was asking for a hookup, and the other was in 2010 with just a random dirty link. My wife didn't respond to either of them. As far as I know, there was no email indicating she did. I'm not sure how I could confirm at this point. I did find out the does have a wife, but digging into her a bit, I found an Instagram photo of her showing off an engagement ring, and she said she met the guy exactly 3 years ago from that point, which would have put it in 2010, after I believe things had ended with my wife. So, I'm not sure if trying to contact here would help anything. Probably not. It's possible he did have a girlfriend at the time and she found out and left him, but I'm not sure how I would find out. Anybody who would have that information would be better friends with my wife than me and may tip her off if I just suddenly start contacting people years later who I never really talked to back then. So, I don't know where else to look at this point. Anyway, I truly believe it ended in the summer before we got married. I haven't so far found any bit of evidence there has been any more betrayal since then. Shortly after she left that company in late 2011, she was with me almost 24/7. In 2012 we started a business together and ran it out of our house until 2017, and now she works in an office with a bunch of women. So, I think things are good these days. After our talks the other nights about the state of our relationships, it seems like she is making an effort to be more affectionate. Of course, she doesn't know what drove me to break down and start discussing things, and I'm afraid if I confront too soon, I could ruin everything. When I looked at her phone for a minute today, I saw she had some Chrome browser tabs open to a few articles titled like I hate being touched and it's ruining my marriage. So it looks to me like she is taking things seriously and wants to make the effort to improve things. I will push her to try therapy, but our financial situation isn't great at the moment and we do not have health insurance, so I don't know that we could afford anything soon. My main concern is to find out if this truly was a one-time lapse of judgment that lasted a few months, or if there were other times in the past. I will have to make a plan for when I do confront her so I don't blow my chance and tip my hand on what I already know about. Anyway, at least I don't physically feel as ill as I did the last few days, although I'm still no sleeping or eating much. Hopefully it will continue to get better as time goes on. Now I will worry about the confrontation if things keep getting better with us. Not going to rug sweep it. Just saying the timing of the confrontation is going to be tricky if she really is trying to work on the relationship honestly and wants the same thing as I do. I cannot let this go, but if I confront her this week if things are on a huge upswing for us, things all fall apart. I want to reconcile this, and I hope she does too, but I'll have to see how she reacts and if she really is remorseful. I guess for now I just keep my eyes open and try to gather more intel from the past. I truly hope reconciliation is possible. I guess I should read some more threads on this site to see how other people worked out. Since we have been together since high school, I don't have the experience of dating multiple women and breaking up and getting back together, that type of thing. This whole thing is new to me, that's why I'm here. And I'm not trying to take blame for pushing her to him, but I was shocked and bummed to read in the recommended book that it sounds like what I did, that it was all her biology and she couldn't help it. I don't believe that, but I will use the tips in the book to become a better man and husband, whether we reconcile or not. I'm sorry that's the impression that you got. I guess I'm just not great at communicating myself, could be just part of the reason our marriage has had issues. I don't think it's weakness that I still love my wife and hope I can forgive her. I'm not even thinking about D at this point before confronting. After, we'll have to see what happens. The night of D-Day I was so hurt and angry, I pretty much told her things have to change for the better with our marriage. Again, she doesn't know what I know, so maybe she is responding to what she thinks of me as manning up and telling her that I want this to work. We had a few serious talks and are making clear progress. I'm actually not scared she would take the step to leave me at this point. I don't see how she has the power if we're working towards the goal I want, and hope she wants too. And I think that I saw her researching what's wrong with her and how to fix it without telling me is a good first step. I don't mean I found 6 single texts. I found 6 transcripts. Each one is for a single day, and there are dozens and dozens back and forth between them. These 6 days are spread out from late Feb to mid-July. Again, I haven't had the stomach to go through line by line yet, but I will, believe me. But what I have seen, it is pretty bad. Like I said, I can see where it started. He started dropping mildly inappropriate comments, especially considering she was his boss, and they just got more and more blatant. She didn't instigate, but for sure she played along from the start. So, sickening that she would betray me and be so stupid. She didn't know at the time that the job wouldn't work out. She made good money and had room for advancement. Even those beginning texts could have gotten her fired. I will look into D before I take the next step. My situation is a bit tricky at the moment though. Since our business failed a year ago, I've been out of work and just doing things here and there to make a few extra bucks, selling things on eBay, etc. My wife is the one bringing in a steady paycheck. It would probably be in my best interest to find a job, so I can at least afford to talk to a D lawyer. That means it will be probably months before I confront. While that will give me time to gather more information, it will be hell. It's hard to look at her without something popping into my mind. But I will do what has to be done. It will also give me time to work on myself. I wanted to join a gym for myself anyway. I'm overweight, so I really don't want to die early, but this is just that much more motivation to improve myself. While I'm waiting to get my ducks in a row, should I try and push her into therapy, either MC or IC? While I had said things were better after we had our talks a few days ago, we had an upsetting fight last night and I feel we are back to square one. Would counseling help or hurt things before confrontation? Or should I just live with the status quo for the next few months until my situation improves? I asked her to marry me while we were still in high school. She said yes right away. Because we were so young, we lived with her parents for a short time, then when the chance to move out of state came around, we jumped on it. She doesn't have a good relationship with her parents, so she was happy to get away. Honestly, the foot dragging to officially tie the knot was mine. Because of our physical issues, hers really. I wanted to wait until things got better. Looking back, I realize I should have put my foot down and required her to seek some counseling. Whenever it was brought up, she resisted, and because of the way I am, I don't like to upset her. It's easier to just pretend nothing was wrong. She always appeared to be happy being with me, always told me how lucky she was to be with me and couldn't imagine life without me. Our life together was good, except for the lack of bonding. I understood early on that she had issues, possibly due to CSA and how she lost her virginity. Also, while we were still in high school shortly after we first started having bonding, she got pregnant. We were both young and stupid, I guess. Because of her relationship with her parents, she didn't want to or couldn't keep it, so we had an abortion. At the time she seemed to handle it okay, but we haven't talked much about it in the years that followed, so I'm not sure how much that affected her mental state when it comes to bonding. Our whole situation is messy. I just wish she had been able to talk to me and want to try and work to fix things instead of doing what she ended up doing. I realize now, of course, I've made a lot of mistakes in the past, but that's done. Only thing I can do now is move forward. My main thing now, I think, is that I want to confront properly so I have the best possible chance of uncovering if there is anyone else I don't already know about. I'm 99% sure there hasn't been anybody else since the guy I already know about, based on the digging I've been doing and based on our life situation during that time frame. What I'm worried about is the time frame before this started. It's difficult to find digital records to snoop when you're talking the time before smartphones 15 years ago or longer. I do know for sure now that she had slept with the OM based on the text messages I discovered. I sat down today and painfully read them all. I had gotten through most of them and I was starting to feel like it might just be a texting, fantasy type thing for her, which is still inexcusable, but not as bad as a pa, to me at least. Then the bomb dropped. There was a text from him that said, "You know I haven't even X since we slept together. I already have a high-end VAR that I use to record concerts, so I will have no issue recording." You brought up a good point about her going off the rails if I confront an MC. She does seem to freak out when she's under stress. I think I will have D papers ready when I confront. I'm sure she sees me as a nice guy without really knowing fully what it means in the context of our relationship. So the D papers will let her know this is for real. Never had any counseling for it. We haven't ever told anybody. The few times we've talked about it, she seems mildly sad in kind of a what-if way. But because of her issues with her parents, she is an only child and they've always been a bit overbearing. She isn't as open with me about her feelings as I'd like, so it's possible she does blame me. While it's true that she may or may not have BPD, all of the reading I've been doing today points to that direction, especially the quiet or waif type. It's hard to articulate in my few posts here to describe the whole 25-year relationship. But as I was reading about BPD, light bulbs started to go off. I even used to tell her that I felt like I had to walk on eggshells around her because she would frequently get mad at me for no reason or minor things. She's always been very attached to me and would get upset if I went out with my friends without her. She never cut herself, but when she used to get really upset, she would dig her fingernails into her arms or inner thigh until they bled. It was especially bad when we were younger and she thought I was going to leave her for a co-worker. I always thought there was some issue, I just didn't have any idea what it was. If I'd ever suggest therapy, that will set her off. She told me a few months ago that she thinks her mom is BPD, and I think that also makes sense. I've experienced my mother-in-law's drastic mood swings, and my father-in-law is a broken man. Seems like he is unhappy and does what he can to not rock the boat. Since she is an only child, the fact that my wife moved out of state has been very hard on her mother. Her mother also spends money like there's no tomorrow and doesn't seem to be able to stop. Now, my wife has gotten better throughout the years. It's not as intense as when she was younger, but she still feels she has little self-worth and frequently tells me that I'm going to leave her because she is broken, her words. We've also both gone through some serious addiction issues, and I'm not sure she's fully broken free. I'm sure there's more I'm forgetting. Like I said, it may not be BPD, but it would make sense. She also suffers from depression and anxiety, which I've read goes hand in hand with BPD. I would like for her to start IC before we try MC, but in the quick research I've done I don't see how we can afford it anytime soon with our current financial situation. I hope we can find a way for her to get diagnosed and start treatment at the very least. I have determined she is not currently cheating and it doesn't appear she has since it ended with the OM 8 to 9 years ago. She isn't really guarding her phone, I just said she is on it all the time. I've been able to look over her shoulder and she isn't hiding or doing anything bad with it. She's just addicted to it. Browsing the web, looking at nonsense on Facebook, etc. I have been able to look through it a few times recently while she is getting ready for work. She leaves it unattended on the couch, so not hiding anything. I found nothing alarming. So, I have no need to do the pick me dance, not that would anyway. I did go through her entire Gmail account, as well as our phone bill usage for the last 2 years, and I found nothing. In my case, it wasn't so much that she just quit. Bonding has always been an issue with us. I'm HD and I thought she was LD because of her past issues. I believed it was something we, or her, could work on. This is the reason I took so long to officially marry her. I look back now and regret a lot of choices I made or didn't make. I should have been encouraging her to go to therapy since early on, because I did feel there was a deeper issue besides the fact that she just wasn't into me. She is a beautiful woman, used to model as a teenager, and if she wasn't in love with me there would be no reason to stay. She could have had her pick of men. I wasn't her meal ticket, we've never had a lot of money. But every time I gently pushed IC, she would get angry or upset, and it's easier for me to put my head in the sand. I admit I was weak and should have insisted, but that's in the past. All I can do now is set up the future to be the best for both of us, whatever that may be. Just wanted to check in. I'm having a hard time with my thoughts. I can't stop thinking about the events that happened in 2009. I keep replaying the text conversations in my mind multiple times a day, no matter how hard I try not to. I just don't know how to keep it out of my mind. Will things get better after I confront? I know that depends on her and how she reacts, but this is still the most painful thing I've ever had to deal with. I'm still investigating every chance I get and have not found any new evidence. I'm still 99% sure this ended years ago and there hasn't been anyone since. Our relationship is better this past month than it has been in a long time, probably due to me being more assertive with what I want out of our marriage. We had a minor spat the other night, and I use those times to try and gather information too. I told her that maybe some of her physical issues are because of me, and maybe she regrets not being with anyone else, or how would she know it's not me if she hasn't been with anyone else, and she denies that she would ever want to be with anyone else. I even asked her if she would like it if we would send each other nude pictures to try and spice things up, and she said she's not into that at all and it would be dumb. Meanwhile, texting is what led to her affair with the OM. I get that people change over the years, but it's hard to hear her lie to me. If she tries to lie or deny in the face of evidence when I do confront, it will crush me. The plan is still to confront in a few months when I'm in a better place personally. I've lost almost 20 pounds since D-Day. I guess if there is one positive to infidelity, is that it is a great motivator to better yourself. My problem now is how do I deal with thinking about the evidence I know about multiple times a day and getting that sinking feeling in my stomach. Is it better to confront sooner rather than later and just see what happens? Financially, I don't have the few $100s right now to even get the D papers set up and ready to present to her. I just really hate that this happened and I found out. Sometimes I wish I hadn't. She has not been in contact with him. I saw in her phone that he texted her last year and asked, "Hi, how are you?" There was no reply from her. As far as I know, the last time she had contact with him was a little over 2 years ago when I actually asked her to text him and ask him the name of his accountant. We had our own business at the time and needed a reliable tax guy, and I knew he worked with a good accountant. She was reluctant to contact him, which I thought was annoying at the time, but now I know why she didn't want to deal with it. My comment: she's addicted to affairs, addicted to waiting to confront. Yep, in a few months. No, cancel that, I'll confront next year. Nope, wait, I'll wait 2 years. Yep, that's the ticket, just 2 years. Oh man, she's going to get it. Nope, I'll wait another year.